So today we're continuing our series with part 3. The first one was the fake Christian message, Greek philosophy in the churches. And the second one was Contradiction is the heart of the gospel, Greek philosophy in the churches. Now, that full title is Greek philosophy in the churches that destroy Christians. So that's our focus. Now, to keep in line with that, I've made some notes for today to make sure that I hit all of the things that I really want to hit for this subject. But this one is about causality. Now, many of us don't think about that. We've heard it in school when we were younger, cause and effect, right? That's causality. Cause and effect. And we think, well, what's wrong with that? Cause and effect. Something happens and it causes something else. Or something has happened and it was caused by something before it. And that all of our experience and all of existence and all of the universe and all of time is cause and effect. Now, we must be very careful because we need to stay biblical. The thing about the biblical message is that it transcends space and time. It connects us between our existence here and what we perceive as space and time, and our relationship with the living God, who is not in space and time, our perception of space and time, okay? Now, you say, yeah, but Jesus came and boom. Yeah, okay, right. But we'll get to that, okay? Let's deal with causality. Let's deal with cause and effect, okay? I'm going to read you some of my notes and we're going to talk about it. So causality is cause and effect establish the concepts of space and time. The way that we perceive that we are in space and time is that there is cause and effect. Cause and effect. If I throw a ball at that window, I might break it. Well, that window is not right here. It's a different location. And I can tell that it is there by breaking it. If I throw the ball and that ball that I threw hits it and that window breaks, I know that window is there. And I have a perception of space that's established by breaking that window. Now, let's talk about time. I've established time as well because I didn't see the window break before I threw the ball, by the ball hitting it. And I didn't see the window break instantaneously as I threw the ball. There was some time that elapsed. There was some difference between the when I threw the ball and the when of the window breaking. So we have this perception of space and time through cause and effect. Cause and effect validate these. Okay? Now, Christ demonstrated through miracles that he knew the way out of causality and deterministic existence. You say, hold on a minute, you've thrown in determinism. Yeah. Because if you believe in cause and effect and that is the only source of events, that all events have a cause and an effect. All objects have a cause that affect them. Then you're in a deterministic universe. If there's nothing that can break cause and effect, then you're in a deterministic universe. And this is why I say that Calvinism, which has infected the Christian churches, because Calvinist was a humanist. He was not a Christian, he was a humanist who converted to Christianity. And nonetheless, he was Catholic, who became Protestant later. But he was a famous humanist. He believed in the power of the mind apart from God without intervention or revelation, to be able to discern accurately and to judge accurately without God's intervention, without God's revelation, without any intervention by God to make an accurate judgment. And you say, well, what's wrong with that? We do that every day. What's wrong with that? Job 28:28 is what's wrong with that. God said to man, the beginning of wisdom, to fear Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, and to shun evil is understanding. It literally means to eschew off from evil, incline off from evil. And you cannot understand unless you eschew off from evil. Okay. So determinism. When you live in a deterministic universe that cannot be pierced by anything else, that everything has to have cause and effect, then you are perceiving everything through Greek philosophy. That's what I mean by Greek philosophy. When we are talking about everything like cause and effect, and that there's no way around cause and effect, then we are living in a deterministic worldview. It's Greek philosophy. And that's what Paul meant when he said, like I read in the previous video in 1 Corinthians, that the message of the cross is foolishness to the Greeks. And our whole educational system is Greek. And if you don't know, the source of Western culture, the origin of Western culture is Greece, ancient Greece. No joke. Look it up. All of Western culture is Greek in its mindset, in its philosophy. All of the philosophers, Greek mindset. So, and that's because it's founded on cause and effect, causality, which creates a deterministic worldview. That's why Calvinism and Reformed theology, so-called, appeals to the masses even today, especially as it's being propagated through the internet. And if you've been sucked into this through any of the many famous preachers, John Piper, John MacArthur, R.C. Sproul, who's gone to face his judgment with God, or any of the other Reformed pastors, if you've been sucked into that, you need to get out of it. They give lip service to Jesus, to the miracles of Jesus, to the divinity of Jesus, but they deny its power. Okay, let's go into this. Jesus demonstrated through miracles that he knew the way out of causality and deterministic existence. This way is the way out from death. That's what he was talking about. Because the ultimate effect on your life of the causes and effects, they're in a chain from beginning to end, is death. The way that Jesus showed out from this is the way of the cross. That's what it is. The way of the cross is the way out from cause and effect, from a deterministic universe. It tries to rule over you. And Jesus shows us the way out, the way of the cross. It makes no sense to someone who is in a deterministic worldview. I have been crucified, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loves me and gave himself for me. It makes no sense. It cannot be, because it's not cause and effect. It's an impossibility. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I live in the body, if I no longer live, how can I live in the body, in a life? You see? Cause and effect. It breaks that chain of cause and effect, and we read it so casually that we completely miss the power of the message of the cross. The power of the message of the cross is it breaks the deterministic universe over your life. It's a miracle of Christ in you. Jesus marked out this path, and he beckons us as a lighthouse beacon out of this world of causality through the doorway of the cross. We've talked about the doorway of the cross multiple times. There's a mistranslation in Revelation at the very end where it talks about the book of life. It doesn't say that. It actually literally doesn't say that. It says the timber of life. That's right. It does not say the book of life. That was injected by those idolaters who try to replace Jesus with this. Paul calls Jesus our Passover. Jesus is the Passover lamb who had to be perfect and spotless so that when his blood was shed, it would be effective. And it was shed on the doorpost of God, the timber of life, behind which we are called to hide from God's wrath and be protected by the blood of the Lamb. And in that way, we escape the cause and effect, the deterministic universe that wants to kill us. Now, that points back to another series of miracles that God did to break the deterministic universe for a people. The deliverance of Israel. Moses demonstrated the same escape from causality to Pharaoh and the Hebrews. He did not just demonstrate that to Pharaoh or just to the Hebrews. When they crossed the Red Sea, that miracle of the Red Sea parting and then being able to walk on dry land that had just moments before been under the sea for God only knows how long. That broke the deterministic universe. It gave them a way out of the cause and effect. They've reached the shore of a sea. They're trapped because Pharaoh's armies are coming fast onto them, and they have no way out, cause and effect. They're going to die. God broke that with a miracle that intervened in the deterministic universe and did something that cannot be done. And did something that could not be done in the cause and effect deterministic universe. And the Hebrews, led by Moses and Aaron, walked across dry land to the other side. And if that wasn't enough, God continued to break the deterministic universe as Pharaoh and his armies were drowned in the Red Sea. But before that, when Moses was exhibiting the miracles to Pharaoh as a testimony of the power of God and how serious God was when he said, "Let my people go," God broke the deterministic universe. Those things were not possible. And the way that Moses did them, there was no possibility that that would cause that effect. And yet it did. And that was only the preamble to what was coming. When Pharaoh and his armies continued in their last time to resist the living God and were drowned in the Red Sea. And the Hebrews, following in faith Moses, made it out of the Red Sea, across the Red Sea and out, and were rescued from the cause and effect of death. Flash forward. Jesus comes, and he says, like Moses led the Hebrews out, I'm here to lead you out of the deterministic universe whose ultimate effect in the end of all the causes is death. Come follow me.